What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off the charts are showing and based off what the data is suggesting. I'm also going to break down some major pieces of news that just came out involving Tesla that have been affecting the share price and the current performance of the company, and also some important things that Elon Musk has been tweeting about that do actually involve where his mind is, what his intentions are, and how this is affecting Tesla. Now, before I break anything down about Elon Musk, before I talk about what the news is saying about the markets in Tesla, what you should be watching for Tesla's share price, as I mentioned some very critical zones, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 5 days. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Tesla's down 11.41% for the day, taking another absolutely massive hit, and Tesla is extremely oversold. Now, just because it's oversold does not mean it has to bounce immediately, as we are starting to see more and more investors beginning to capitulate. So I'm going to break down what's going on in China right now, why Tesla is being very affected by these new pieces of news, and why there is likely going to be even more downside. Now, to start us off, guys, what has Elon Musk been doing? And unfortunately, I have to be honest with everyone. Looking at his Twitter, I haven't seen him tweeting much about Tesla, giving us any major updates. In fact, the last time I heard him actually talk about Tesla explicitly was uh, near their earnings report. He also said a couple of things about the news, like truck that came out, the semi truck. But besides that, there has not been much coming out of his mouth. And when he did speak, he did say something that was kind of untrue, and that's the fact that he mentioned demand for Tesla is not going to be a big issue. It's quite clear the opposite is true. And as the CEO of Tesla, you got to show engagement. You got to talk about Tesla and give us more updates. And he hasn't been doing that. I'm going to be honest with everyone. He's mainly been just talking about memes, talking a lot about Twitter, saying things that are very contentious. If I'm going to be blunt with anyone, that's what I will say. And it's something I think Elon Musk could really improve at, because it's really affecting the faith investors have in him. Many major Tesla shareholders have turned their backs on Elon Musk. They're actually looking for a CEO to replace him as the Tesla CEO. I mean, it's not very good to see things like this. And I would personally love to hear more of Elon Musk's opinions about Tesla, give us more updates, show more engagement, because his lack of engagement into Tesla right now is just not helping the company, especially because he's been selling tens of millions of shares over and over again. He did mention that he's not going to be selling until 2025 again, but like I said before, he said that last time, so we don't truly know for sure. But there are improvements that could be made by Elon Musk. I still want to note that I appreciate the work he has done in the past. He is still an incredible entrepreneur. He's still done incredible work for the world, but he is playing a big role in why Tesla has dropped the way it has. All right, his perpetual selling of the stock and his lack of actually showing lots of engagement on Twitter about Tesla and just talking about other things, it's really affecting the sentiment of investors. But we can't put all the blame on him. You also have to remember that he played a big role in making Tesla what it is to this day, and the long-term future is still very bright. So I still respect Elon Musk. I just wanted to put it out there that yes, I'm well aware of what's actually going on. I know he is playing a big role in it, but there are other big factors affecting Tesla as well. All right. It's not all because of Elon Musk. It's also given the current macroeconomic effects in our economy, the overall market, and what investors are basically foreseeing and projecting over the next couple of months. Looking so far, some new data came out for the month of November. We can see that the average used Tesla was $55,750 $55,754. Sorry about that. Down 17% from July. So what's happening is used Tesla's prices are starting to drop like crazy. And this was part of why Tesla dropped pretty hard a couple of days ago. I saw this headline that came out saying that Tesla's demand is starting to go down. Many investors are not happy about this, and they are basically foreseeing deliveries to be lower than expected for Tesla. This is part of the reason why Tesla's backlog has been going down over and over again, not the best of signs. Now, looking at some more data, we can see Tesla's down pretty excuse me, sorry guys. Tesla's down pretty hard, all right? And NEO is also down 8% because NEO is actually giving us a good understanding of what's going on in China. So the virus is spreading in China, especially after all the lockdowns. And on top of that, NEO actually cut their production expectations because during their last earnings report, NEO expected to give us 43 to 48,000 deliveries for Q4. They actually cut it to about 39,000. What does this tell us? This tells us that demand for EVs and cars in China is dropping like crazy. This is not good for Tesla investors. NEO also dropped off the news involving Tesla because Tesla has another one of their major factories on shutdown. And what else is not good is the fact that Giga Shanghai is, shutting down. They're slowing down production right now. It's projected to continue like this until January 2nd. And then we also have Chinese New Year coming up. So now production is going to slow down again sometime in January. So this is not good news whatsoever, Tesla investors, because production is slowing down. And now many investors are confused. They're wondering, okay, how is Tesla going to meet their production expectations? Are they actually going to meet them? We're going to find out in a couple of days when the data comes out. I really hope they meet production. Most investors are confident that they're going to miss on delivery expectations. So be very careful because if the news comes out that Tesla missed on expectations, there could be more downside to come in the beginning of January. Investors already know this and they're starting to price this in. So please be very ready for that. Tesla's down 60.2% over the past 3 months, making it the worst performer in the S&P 500 index over that period. Unfortunately, Tesla is very, very weak right now, guys. It's underperforming. We have to be as honest as possible. When you have a CEO that's selling tens of millions of shares, when you have all these negative catalysts that keep on coming out, there's going to be some bad things to come. If you look at the entire 2022, we're down almost 70%. Tesla's lost $720 billion in its valuation this year alone. So, very, very hard times are ahead of us seeing this happening. Tesla's down pretty hard. Now, on top of that, many investors are projecting weakening earnings. They're saying that Tesla's going to have a pretty hard month, a pretty hard quarter, and they're also talking about the fact that this is not just in terms of the stock performance, but for earnings coming out for the very beginning of 2023, we're going to see worse margins than expected. We're not even sure how profitable it's going to be. I heard some investors say that. People are panicking. They are not happy. And this is part of why Tesla's selling off the way it is. On top of that, with the virus spreading in China, Tesla still sold off. And then looking at some more data, we could see Tesla, look at the price pairs ratio. This is just ugly, guys. I do not like to see this, but look at how low this is. This is a sign of extreme weakness from Tesla's end. If you look at how Tesla compares side by side with SPY, very, very oversold, very weak looking. We can even compare it to the QQQ. And what's happening right now is the tech sector is lagging behind compared to the SPY. What this means is investors are not putting their money in riskier assets. They do not have faith in the stock market right now. And tech is not leading the way right now. Tech is weak compared to the SPY and many other stocks out there. Energy is what's actually doing a better job at holding us up. So you can see compared to the QQQ, both of them are pretty much down there. Tesla's actually underperforming. Tesla's heavily underperforming the QQQ of all things, another major sign of weakness. Tesla did get lots of volume from the selling side down here, and it just continued to free fall as time went on. Despite that, many big banks and analysts like Deutsche Bank are still giving Tesla buy ratings. So their point is they're very bullish long term still. So Tesla is still an incredible company, guys. I know I did mention many negative things about it, but remember, we have Cybertruck coming out, we have the Roadster coming out. We're going to get stronger earnings in the future. Maybe it's going to be hard for the next few quarters, but in the future, it will prevail. I still see this as a very good buying opportunity. I'm still very bullish nonetheless. Please note that Wednesdays are green only 48% of the time historically. Once again, not the best of signs. And on top of that, look at the short interest. It's been on a nice uptrend. We are seeing more and more shorts piling into this stock compared to like back then, back in like October and November, and even like parts of early December. There's not as much shorting back then. There's more shorting now. Shorts are still being relentless, and they are just monsters. They're going to do whatever they can to keep this thing down. So now let's just talk about the technicals. What's going on in the markets? How may this affect Tesla? On SPY's end, we do have a potentially bullish setup that's forming. We have a bullish triangle-like setup. We did show some weakness as the day went on, but in the markets right now, I don't expect there to be a crazy big amount of moves because of the fact that volume is very weak right now. We're seeing lower volume on SPY and the overall market. So I don't expect there to be major moves. We could see some relief, maybe a small rally to the upside next week in very early January. That is still very possible, just like last year, or I would say like the beginning of this year, a small push up in the very beginning of the year before the big crash starts. What's not good about this though is look, the market might push up a bit, but it hasn't crashed yet. The real crash has not started yet. It's going to start in January, in my opinion. And Tesla's already crashing before that. So, what's going to happen when the real crash comes? Is Tesla going to recover? I don't think so, guys. It's just not looking good, in my honest opinion. Now, like I mentioned before, SPY is only down 0.4%. And then the QQQ of all things is down 1.41%, showing that tech is not leading the way. Tech is still looking relatively weak. We're near a very key demand zone. I'm hoping that we try to hold these levels, maybe come down just a little bit. Now, could we see some temporary relief next week? Yes, but it's not going to be too long lived. Eventually, we're going to come down by mid January, and a big crash is still ahead of us, even for Apple as well. It's still making new lows. Big tech are what are taking big hits right now. Now let's talk about the VIX and then a couple of other things before I get on with Tesla. The VIX was very close to its demand zone between 18 and 19. And I say this because this thing is starting to respect an uptrend. Soon, I know the VIX may trade a little sideways for some time, but very soon this thing is going to push all the way up to the 30s. It's going to start pushing up very soon as we approach 2023. By mid January, I expect this to start pushing up. The market's going to come down simultaneously. This is going to be correlated with the dollar index starting to push up. So when the dollar index pushes up, the market's going to crash. It's coming very, very soon, in my honest opinion. The treasury yields, the 10-year, is already starting to push up, which is showing smart money is taking money out of stocks, buying into the treasury yields for more security. Once again, a bearish indication for the next few months to come. So, what do I expect for the markets? I expect some sideways action, maybe a small pump next week, maybe later this week, just a little bit of upside left one last time before the major crash starts. That's what I believe is going to happen. But either way, a big crash is coming. Now let's talk about Tesla. I know I gave you guys lots of context. What the heck is going on with Tesla? Out of the last 11 days, 10 of them were major sell off days on Tesla. It just continues to fail and fail. I mentioned yesterday, all right, we have some demand around this 120 area. If we break this, I'm going to be watching 117. I expect the Tesla to try to hold this. If we broke below this, I expect the Tesla to hold 110. Okay, at the very least, 110 is where I saw Tesla to be like bottom at for today, and I thought it would maybe balance and try to hold that. Instead, instead, we broke below 110. We actually hit 108 and we failed. And we're looking very, very weak. We continue to get hit over and over and over again by bad news. And I do believe that some of this bad news is actually truthful because there have been negative catalysts. It's the truth, from looking at production to shutdowns in factories, to not to mention other negative things. But at the same time, some of this bad news is exaggerated to bring Tesla down. It's benefiting the shorts, which are up over $13 billion year to date so far. So it's manipulation that's playing a big role. And unfortunately, the panic that's setting in is actually getting into the heads of many investors. Now, what I did is I went back on the chart and I looked at some major gaps on Tesla. One of them is going to end at 108.17. We actually started to fill the gap and we stopped in the middle of it today before closing. So we closed very, very close to our bottom of the day, very weak close from Tesla. It looks like it's going to fill the gap at 108. But what else is interesting is we have another gap between 104 and 103. Now, just to clarify, these gaps, they exist. Many of them formed in 2020. Not all gaps have to get filled, but when we're very close to them, we do tend to fill them. All right. So if there are gaps at like $20, $15, we do not have to fill those. But if there, excuse me, if there are gaps very close to where the price is, it is very possible for us to fill them. All right. So, in my opinion, if I'm going to be blunt with everyone, bad news is still coming out. Investors are panicking. Tesla is showing no signs of bouncing. In my opinion, if it breaks 108, this thing is going to crash to 104 to 103. Fill the gap down here. If we fill the gap here, we're likely not going to bounce at 103. Instead, we might just head for that 100 flat area. So, in my opinion, it looks like Tesla's going to hit 100 very soon, and it still looks more bearish. We failed to bounce. We're not seeing buyers step in like before, and the bad news keeps on coming over and over again. So, it's not looking good. For tomorrow, let's see what the news says. If there happens to be another negative headline, which is likely going to come, they just keep on coming. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tesla hit 108, break below that. 104 to 103 could come pretty fast. So watch this zone very carefully. We have a gap right here, which is unfilled. And if we fill the gap, like I said before, I'm going to be watching 100. Now, do not lose faith. I have not given up on Tesla. I'm still very bullish long term. This is a very good opportunity to start dollar cost averaging down. Even if Tesla is set for more potential downside, if you slowly buy at these levels over and over again, the more it dips, the lower your average will be, and the more shares you could get at these cheaper prices. Because remember, if you're buying this thing at $100 a share, the all-time high is over 400. That's a very, very good buying opportunity for the long term. I'm very excited to be buying these dips because I'm still very bullish long term on this company. So I look at this as an opportunity, even though there's no clear sign of a bounce on Tesla. Just remember that the previous support zones are going to become resistance. 110 is going to be resistance, 115 is going to be resistance, 117 and 120 are all going to be resistance if this thing finally bounces. But so far, I don't see any signs of it bouncing. It just continued to bleed. It just fell below support as if it wasn't even there. The stock looks very weak. Bad news keeps coming. So it's more likely this thing comes down. I'm going to be watching 108 for the gap fill, break below that. 103 to 104 has another gap, break below that. Then we have 100, which could get tested very, very soon. And I do expect more buyers to come around 100. I expect them to try to fight this level, defend their positions. So please watch 100 very carefully. It looks like Tesla's heading for that zone. Tesla is still very oversold. So please do what's best for your own portfolios and be ready for anything. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon, because the long term future is still incredibly bright despite all the downside. I'm still very bullish long term, and peace out.